He wore that uniform like a costume, and people cheered for him. Ray Delgado stood at the edge of the farmer's market, fists clenched, knuckles white, watching the boy soak in applause. Not a boy exactly, mid-20s maybe. Clean beard. Wraparound Oakleys, perfect desert camo fatigues, rank patch too high for someone that fresh, medals in the wrong order, no dirt, no scarring, just shine. His name tag read Carver. His TikTok handle was stitched underneath. I real vet voice, Ray. Wanted to vomit. A woman handed Carver a $20 bill. Thank you for your service, she said, voice shaking with patriotism. He winked. No, ma'am. Thank you for remembering us. He pocketed the cash with a fluid, well-practiced motion. A donation box sat beside him, labeled, For PTSD. Awareness. Ray stepped forward, not yet speaking, just studying. The man's boots were clean, the cuffs too sharp. The flag patch was reversed. Rookie mistake. Ray knew uniforms. He'd bled into his, bled on the sand, on the snow, on the tile. Floor of a Beirut kitchen while holding the guts of his best friend in his lap. He'd buried brothers without medals, without flags. And this punk stood under a shade tent with Bluetooth speakers playing Fortunate Son, Jesus Christ. Carver caught Ray's stare, held it, then smiled, nodded. The kind of nod you give a fellow vet. Ray didn't return it. Carver's. Smile dropped for just a second, then came back, bigger, slicker. Ray waited until the line cleared. Until the moms with strollers and the veterans with mobility scooters moved along, then he walked straight up, close enough to smell the cologne. Too sweet. You weren't in Fallujah, Ray said flatly. Carver blinked. Sorry? You said. On your live stream, Fallujah. 2004, Bravo Company. That unit was wiped. You weren't there. A beat of silence. Then Carver laughed. Warm, charismatic, practiced. Nah, man. That's not what I said. I met guys from Bravo. I was first Cav. Baghdad, mostly. Ray shook his head slowly. You're not even regulation shaved. Carver's eyes flicked toward his donation box. Other shoppers started watching. Sir, I'm going to have to ask you to step back. You're lying. That's slander. I have friends in Arlington who can't call you a liar. So I will. Two market guards approached. Young, overeager, blue vests, no weapons. Sir, we need you to calm down. Ray's voice didn't rise. It didn't need to. He's not a veteran. That box is a scam. That flag on his sleeve, it's backwards. That CIB badge, he didn't earn it. The guards exchanged a look. Carver raised his palms. I don't want trouble. I've got PTSD. He's triggering me. Ray's lip curled. Trigger this, he muttered. They escorted Ray out. Not violently, not kindly. One of the guards whispered, You can't be harassing people, sir. Ray laughed, dry, bitter. He's harassing the truth. Back home, the silence in Ray's trailer was loud. He dropped his keys, sat, turned on the TV, not for news but for noise. On the counter, a half-drunk cup of black coffee and a VA pamphlet that hadn't moved in 3 months. He'd done everything right. Served, retired, stayed quiet. And for what? For some influencer to wear his life like a cheap suit? He opened his laptop, typed, I real vet voice, thousands of followers, posts like, every day is a battle. But we carry on. Army strong. Vet life. Never forget, photoshopped combat photos. AI-generated medals, fake tears in every clip. Ray's fingers hovered above the keyboard. He wanted to write, This man is a fraud. He didn't. Instead, he opened a folder marked 2021, redacted. Inside, scanned documents, discharge papers, photos, one, especially of a face. Not Carver's, but his father's. Ray looked at it for a long time, then whispered, You want to wear your daddy's uniform, kid? Okay, let's talk about what he really did in Kandahar. Before he wore the uniform, Ray wore a silence thicker than Kevlar. He had learned long ago that some truths don't protect you. They isolate you, brand you, make you radioactive, even among men who've seen the same things. But now, that silence was killing him. So he opened the folder. Top sheet, classified transfer report, dated 2005, Kandahar Province. Subject, Captain Graham Carver. Ray's fingers slowed. He remembered the name. Of course he did. Back then, Carver wasn't smiling for TikTok. He was grinning in the back of an unmarked Humvee, boots on a crate of morphine, sunglasses always on. Even at night, he was one of them. Special operations, deep recon, the kind that did things even the CIA refused to list. Ray had met him only once, but once was enough. The mission was dirty, beyond black. They were ordered to clear a village, suspected of harboring bomb makers. No witnesses, no PR, no survivors. Ray, embedded as an advisor, knew what that meant. Silence, fire, and plausible deniability. He'd protested. Carver laughed. Come on, Sergeant. We're not killing civilians. We're just rearranging threats. But the mission had gone sideways. Ray remembered the screaming. The woman holding a child that wasn't breathing. The pile of bodies that didn't look like combatants. And Carver. He'd ordered the sat phone turned off. No medevac, no photos, memories. The best storage, he'd said. No files, no leaks. Ray had written a statement, tried to submit it. It vanished. Then, so did Carver. Transferred, then honorably discharged 2 years later. And now, this boy, his son, was playing hero in a mall parking lot. Ray opened the next file. A blurry image from 1999. Hospital room. Woman on the bed. Name, Sasha Carver. Birth date matched. On her arm, a small tattoo. An angel with a rifle. She was there. She'd survived Kandahar, and she'd had a child. Ray leaned back in his chair, breathing hard. It wasn't just about stolen valor anymore. The boy wasn't only a fraud. He was the son of a war criminal, and he didn't even know it. Ray reached for the phone, dialed a number he hadn't used in years. Yeah? A voice answered. Tony, it's Ray. I need eyes on a scam artist in a uniform. Name's Carver. I need his full background. Parents, deployments, blood type, everything. Tony was silent a beat. You're digging into ghosts again, old man. Ray's tone dropped. I never stopped seeing them. Later that night, Ray sat outside in the dark, shotgun across his lap, not because he was afraid, but because he knew what came next. Truth. Once you wake it, doesn't go back to sleep, especially not when someone profits off your nightmares. The next morning, a package appeared on his porch. No return address. Inside, a dog tag, one name, C. Carver, fresh blood on the chain, and a note. You want to talk about my father? Fine. Let's see what yours did in Panama first. Ray's hands shook, because he had been in Panama. And no one alive, should have known about what happened in that schoolhouse. The blood on the dog tag wasn't just fresh, it was personal. Ray turned the chain over in his hand again and again, watching it catch the light. His pulse hadn't slowed in hours. His coffee had gone cold. Outside, Texas heat baked the aluminum siding of his trailer until it creaked like a dying animal. He stared at the note. Let's see what yours did in Panama first. Whoever sent it, they knew. Not just about Carver. About him. And Ray knew exactly what they were talking about. December 1989. Operation Just Cause. He hadn't planned to go inside the schoolhouse. It was supposed to be an intel grab. Blueprints. Documents, comms. But the air was wrong that day. Too quiet. Too still. And when Ray kicked in the side door, rifle raised, he didn't find soldiers. He found children, and behind them, 2 men with rifles, shields made of human flesh. He hesitated. 1 second, maybe 2. His squad didn't. Gunfire, screams. Blood on chalkboards, tiny hands clawing at shattered windows. Ray remembered one boy's face. Just one. Big eyes, bare feet, shot through the stomach. Ray carried him out. The boy bled out in the jeep before they hit the bridge. The army gave Ray a medal. He never wore it. Back in the present, Ray paced his trailer like a caged animal. Someone had found out. Was it Carver's kid? No. The note wasn't signed. The threat wasn't personal. It was surgical, tactical. This wasn't revenge. This was a warning. He pulled the blinds shut, every window, checked the locks twice. He knew this game. Psychological destabilization. Make the target dig themselves a hole deep. Enough to climb into willingly. It was working. Ray went to his safe. Punched in the code, 1173, the day he left Vietnam. Inside, one Beretta M9. One worn black notebook, a USB drive, unmarked, and the letter. He hadn't opened it in years. It was written by a man he once trusted, a man who never came home, Jean. Miguel Torres. The letter wasn't addressed to Ray, it was to Torres's son. If you ever wonder what kind of man your father was, don't ask Ray. Ask yourself what kind of man would lie for me, and what kind of war makes that necessary. Ray read it twice, then once more, then lit it on fire in the sink. The knock came at 2:17 a.m. 3 soft taps. Ray was already holding the Beretta. He opened the door, slow, careful. A figure stood in the darkness. Hoodie, phone light off, barely. Breathing. It was Carver's kid, the fake vet, the one with the TikTok army. But now his eyes were wide, not smug. Not cocky, shaken. "I need to talk," he said. Ray didn't answer. The kid looked over his shoulder like he was being followed. "Please." Ray let him in. The kid sat on the edge of the couch, shoulders curled in, hands shaking. "I found a box," he said, "in my mom's garage, labeled just K. Thought it was photos. It wasn't." He pulled out his phone, showed Ray a picture. Ray flinched. It was the schoolhouse. Panama. Same classroom. Same bloodstains. The photo was grainy, black and white. Military archive. Stamped. Confidential. Eyes only. Eric Carver, now no longer a smug influencer but just a terrified young man, looked at him. "My dad was there," he said. "So were you." Ray said nothing. Eric leaned forward. "Everything I posted, the uniform, the fake stories, I was trying to, I don't know, connect to something. He never talked, never told me anything." Ray stared at him. "You didn't earn those medals. No. You mocked the men who died for them." "I know." Ray stood, walked to the sink, poured water over the burning remains of the letter. "I lied for your father," he said, finally. "Because I thought he broke trying to protect something. Now I think he just liked the sound of silence." Eric didn't speak. Ray turned to him, steady, cold. "You're not a soldier. But now you're in a war. One that doesn't end with bullets." He dropped a manila envelope on the table. Inside, photos, reports, footage, every atrocity Carver Sr. had covered. Some of it, filmed by Ray himself. Eric stared. "What am I supposed to do with this?" Ray exhaled. "Decide whether the truth matters more than your blood." Outside, the sun was beginning to rise, and Ray felt something shift inside him. Not relief, not forgiveness, but clarity. The upload button blinked red, like a pulse, like a countdown. Eric sat frozen in front of Ray's laptop, the manila envelope, still open beside him. The screen displayed a video window, grainy, time-stamped, war footage clarity. His father, Captain Carver, laughing, boots on a dying man's chest, cigarette in his mouth. Another clip, a woman screaming as flames consumed her house, Carver casually walking past, and Ray, off camera, breathing hard. The audio was raw, too real. Eric hadn't clicked play. Not yet. Ray stood behind him, arms crossed, face carved from stone. "You sure you want to be the one to show the world?" he asked. Eric didn't answer. Not for a long time. Then, "I spent 2 years trying to build a lie people would believe." He glanced up. "Let's see if they'll believe the truth." He clicked upload. The backlash came within hours. Eric's account was banned. The video was reposted by a dozen war crimes watchdog pages. Reddit exploded. Carver files trended, anonymous. Accounts flooded the comments with denial, then threats, then silence. By noon, major news outlets had picked up the footage. Ray didn't speak. He just sat on the porch, shotgun in his lap, watching the driveway. At 4:17 p.m., a black SUV with government plates idled across the street. They didn't approach. Didn't need to. Ray stared right at them, lifted his beer can, toasted them. They pulled away 10 minutes later. At dusk, a brick smashed through the trailer window. Ray hit the ground in a flash, pulling Eric with him. Outside, tires squealing. A shout, "You set him up!" Then silence again. Ray picked up the brick, taped. To it, a family photo. Eric, his mom, and Captain Carver. Only now a red X had been slashed across Eric's face. That night, they moved. Ray didn't ask. He just packed. No debate. He knew what was coming. It wasn't just trolls and threats now. This was legacy defense, the kind only angry ex-operatives and secret keepers knew how to execute. They drove west, small roads, no cell phones. Ray's old contacts covered gas and cash. Eric said little. Ray said less. 2 days in, they stopped at a remote motel outside Flagstaff. Desert wind howling like old ghosts. Eric finally spoke. "What happens now?" Ray took a long breath. "We wait, and we prepare. For what?" Ray looked him in the eye. "For whoever loved your father enough to kill for his name." At 3:14 a.m., the door creaked open. Ray was already awake, gun in hand, finger ready. But it wasn't an assassin. It was Min. She looked older than Ray remembered. Still walked like a shadow, silent, precise. She didn't hug him, didn't look at Eric, just placed a photograph on the table. 3 bodies, lined up in a ditch, 2 men. 1 woman, each had dog tags in their mouths. 1 name stood out. Delgado. Ray's breath caught. "My brother." Min nodded. "They're cleaning house, quietly." Eric looked between them. "What does this mean?" Ray sat heavily. "It means it's not about your father anymore." He turned the photo over, written in red ink. "You break the silence. You become the message." Eric opened his laptop again. "This video isn't enough." "It's a match. We need fire," Ray's voice dropped. "Then you need to find the warehouse in Taos." Eric blinked. "What's in it?" Ray didn't look at him. Proof. And penance. At dawn, they drove. Toward the endgame. Toward the twist. Toward the truth neither of them were ready for. The warehouse in Taos wasn't on any map. But Ray knew how to find things that didn't want to be found. It sat half-sunk in sand, surrounded by rusted trailers and satellite dishes that hadn't moved. Since the Cold War, a faded sign above the gate read, "Enfield Repair Co." But there hadn't been repairs here since 1991. Ray parked the truck 2 lots away, killed the lights, let the engine click and cool. He turned to Eric. "This isn't a mission, it's a reckoning." Eric swallowed. "With who?" Ray stared at the dark horizon. "Us." They broke in through the back. Ray used an old code. Still worked. The lights inside buzzed to life with a dying hum. Rows of crates, steel cabinets, filing drawers. No markings. Ray moved like he was home. Eric followed. Jaw clenched, eyes wide. "What is this place?" Ray didn't answer. He opened a drawer. Pulled a manila folder. Operation. Bellhound. Stamped Do not duplicate inside. Photos, names, witness accounts, torture diagrams. Eric stared, lips moving without sound. These are war crimes. Ray nodded. Eric flipped to the back and stopped. It was a photo of his mother, young, bloody, handcuffed. Why is she? Ray pulled it away gently. She was a translator, not an enemy. Eric's face twisted. My father did this? Ray exhaled. No, I did. The room went still. Eric didn't. Move. Ray stood there holding the folder, hands trembling slightly. I didn't know who she was. Not then. She wouldn't talk, wouldn't break. His voice dropped. I gave the order. I watched it happen. I justified it. Eric stepped back. No. Ray looked him in the eye. She never told you. She wanted you to believe he was the monster, not me. Eric's hands curled into fists. My mom would never. She forgave me, Ray cut in. But she never forgot. She carried that silence like a crucifix. And she raised you to hate the kind of man I was. Eric's voice broke. You're lying. Ray walked to a drawer, pulled another file, opened it. Inside, a letter. Handwritten. To Raymond Delgado from Min Carver. He thinks his father died a hero. I want to keep it that way. But if one day he comes looking, tell him the truth. Tell him I lied. Tell him it was you. Because it was. And I never said thank you for stopping for becoming something better. Eric read it. Twice. Then looked up. Face pale. You were the villain. Ray nodded. Still am. Then, the floorboards creaked. Both turned. A figure stepped out of the shadows. Bald. Thick. Combat boots. Tactical vest. Ray raised his pistol. But the man just smiled. You were always a bad liar, Delgado. Captain Graham Carver. Alive. Older. Scarred. Breathing heavy. But alive. Eric gasped. Dad? Ray whispered, stunned. You're supposed to be dead. Carver chuckled. They wanted me dead. But some ghosts work for the same people who made this place. He looked at Eric. My son. You're playing with fire. Eric stepped between him and Ray. You tortured people. I saved your country. You lied to everyone. Carver's voice hardened. And so did he. He nodded at Ray. Ray's gun didn't waver. You're the one who buried Min. Carver grinned. She buried herself. With you. Then he lunged. 3 shots. Fast. Ray fired first. Carver dropped. Hard. Chest leaking. Breathing ragged. He looked up at Eric. Don't let him rewrite me. Eric knelt beside him. Why? Carver coughed blood. Because we were necessary. Then he was gone. Silence. Ray lowered the gun. Eric stared at the body. He was the monster. Ray said nothing. Then quietly, no. We both were. Blood makes the ground soft. That's why graves sink. Ray and Eric dug in silence behind the warehouse. Desert wind howled. The sun hadn't risen yet, but the horizon burned a dull orange, like the sky remembered the fire too. Carver's body lay wrapped in a canvas tarp. No prayers, no salute, just weight and memory, and the stink of evaporating myth. They lowered him into the earth. Eric didn't cry. Ray didn't breathe. They burned the files next, everything from Operation Bellhound. Every black and white horror, every redacted name. Every lie Ray had spent decades filing away under necessary evil. The fire roared like it was hungry. Afterward, they sat on rusted folding chairs beside the flames, sweat soaking their clothes, eyes hollowed. Eric broke the silence first. You think he was proud of what he did? Ray didn't answer for a long time. Then, he was proud of surviving. The rest, he convinced himself, was justified. Eric looked at him. And you? Ray stared at the fire. I stopped being proud the day I realized the world kept turning without us. Eric pulled out his phone. Still cracked, still connected. People think he's dead. A hero. I could expose everything. Ray didn't move. But then I become the son who killed his father's name. Ray looked over. Or the man who told the truth. Eric blinked. They'll hate me. They already hate you, Ray said. What matters is, if you deserve it. The next day, they split. Ray gave Eric his truck, the Beretta, and the last piece of his own uniform, a worn patch that simply said Delta. You'll need a name that's yours, he said. Eric nodded. Quiet. I'll find one. Ray stayed behind, cleaned the warehouse, burned the tarp, crushed the thaw. Shell casings, left no trace, except for one. He mailed a copy of Min's letter, her real letter, to a journalist in New York. No return address, no signature, just a line scrawled on the back. Every soldier has two wars, the one they fight and the one they bury. Weeks passed. Ray went off-grid, somewhere in Arizona, or maybe Mexico, maybe further. He didn't say. He didn't need to. But Eric, he reappeared. Different name, different look. No medals, no TikTok, just a face and a voice. One interview, one confession. No theatrics, just this. I lied to feel loved. My father lied to stay feared. And the man who stopped him taught me what real silence sounds like. The story went viral again, but not for outrage. This time, people listened. Some still called him a traitor. Some called him brave, but most just stopped and thought, for the first time. Ray watched the clip from an old TV in a diner off I-10. Didn't say a word. Didn't blink. Then he smiled. Just once.